Hi everybody. Come to the lightning talk on authenticating to AWS with SPIFFE and OIDC Federation. Those of you who are familiar with SPIFFE and SPIFFE will know that the primary use case for it is authenticated MTLS connections between microservices. That's not the only thing you can do with it. For those of you who are brand new to SPIFFE and SPIFFE, SPIFFE is an emerging CNCF standard for workload identities, and it is simply in the form of a URI, but the URI will be delivered to the workloads in the form of what we call an SPID, a SPIFFE Verifiable Identity Document. There are two forms of that, a JOT case and an X509 certificate and key. In either case, you have something that's cryptographically verifiable that can show that you are possessor of that identity. So I'm not going to go too deep into the general weeds on that on this case, but I'll sort of point out what's going on behind the scenes as we go through this. First, I'm going to show you a few slides, and then I'm going to show you a live demo using genuine conference Wi-Fi, so we hope it all works well. But without further ado, let's get started on that. So the setup here is we've got two VMs running in GCE, one that hosts an instance of the Spire server and a software component called the OIDC discovery provider, which exports a standard OIDC discovery document and a JOX file for authenticating JOT files. On the other VM instance, we have an instance of the Spire agent and the AWS command line SDK is installed. Can you hear me okay? No. All right, I'm going to start talking louder. And then we're going to talk to things that are running in AWS. The OpenID web identity provider system, the IAM system, an S3 bucket, and also an RDS database, which isn't shown here. So the first thing that happens is the OIDC discovery provider gets a certificate from Let's Encrypt in order to just use general PKI for HTTPS on a URL that we've given it. I'll show you that in a sec in the demo. After that, AWS calls in to the OIDC discovery provider and fetches the standard OpenIDC discovery doc, which tells it where to get the JOX file to authenticate SPIDs. So in this case then, the Spire agent will fetch an SPID from the Spire server it will create an SPID, have it signed on the Spire server, and then send it to the AWS IAM system, which will ask for the JOX file from the OIDC discovery provider so it can verify the SPID. Having done so, it will then send an STS token back to the AWS SDK instance, which can then be used for running. Sorry, I think I skipped one. Can be used for running AWS SDK services, in this case, such as fetching a file from an S3 bucket. So let's show you that actually in action. First, let's go over to the Spire server, and I just want to sort of show you what the setup on that looks like. This is Spire server config, and the key thing is we're allowing an identity to get this SPIFFE ID. So this is an example, if you haven't seen one, of a workload SPIFFE ID. And it just has SPIFFE and then what we call the trust domain name, which is the form of any domain name. It doesn't have to be a genuine one that's registered with DNS or anything, though in this case this one is, and then something after it to designate the ID of the workload. And In order to get the SPIFFE ID, you have to have two things. You have to be on a node that has this node SPIFFE ID. We have a couple of instances of that node here. And you have to be running as UID 1001. So if you don't have those two things, you can't get this SPIFFE ID. Now let's go over to the instance where the agent is running, and let's do some things. So we're going to fetch a .SPIFFE ID right now. I'm running this agent 1001. It is user 1001 here, and you're seeing sort of a command line version of the command to fetch a JOT. Typically, you'd be doing this through an API from a workload, not from the command line. But we want to show you. So what you need here is obviously the command. You're telling it which audience to use, and you're giving it the address to the Spire agent UDS socket. And I have just fetched a .SPIFFE ID. And what you have here is you have a JOT that you want to use here that is given you, and this is showing you here the SPIFFE ID that you just saw. And this is the trust bundle that you can use with that SPIFFE JOT. I'm going to show you now a couple of things here to take a look at what's in that JOT. I'm going to just demonstrate it here, and as you can see, the issuer is listed as this domain, and the subject is the SPIFFE ID. And the audience obviously is MyS3, which is the audience that we asked for. So all these claims are included in that JOT. To give you an idea sort of how this is going to work on the AWS side, this is the identity provider as it's set up in AWS. So you see this provider URL and a CA thumbprint, and all that thumbprint is the thumbprint of the Let's Encrypt certificate. It's set up automatically. You can add one manually if you're doing something odd, and a list of audiences that it will accept. You can add them at will. The discovery document itself, this is the literal discovery document that you're looking at. And as you can see, it's got the issuer, Jukes URL, and then some information about the types of encryption supported. I'm going to show you what that Jukes document looks like here. So you get the Jukes document here with the keys that you can use in order to verify the JOTs as they come in, and AWS will be fetching these. Now, to find my role. So this is the role that we're going to ask for. As you can see, it's set up with a couple of conditions, the audience here, and in the subject line, the SPIFFE ID that you see there. I'll show that to you. I'll show that to you also in too much. And this is what the JSON looks like for the setup, showing you, web identity, the provider, and the claims that you're looking for. So what can we do with this? Go back. And and we go to the permissions here, you'll see that there's a policy attached to it. That allows you to fetch from a particular S3 bucket. So the next thing I can do here. So in this command, we're going to be handing it an OIDC role to attest as. Oops, I have to do one more thing. I forgot about that. Actually, I'm going to fetch this again. Because of the nature of the AWS CLI, this has to be read from a file when you're doing it on the command line. That condition does not exist in most of the language SPKs. Okay, so in this command, we're putting in the role we want to assume, the token file, and an S3 command to fetch this file. And as you can see, we just got it. There you go. And so that's what just happened right there. There are other things that we can do with this besides S3. To give you an example, you can attest to an RDS database. So let's fetch another token with a different audience. Grab the token here. Okay, so this is a little more complicated because you have to get a special database token to log into an RDS. So it's a two-step token exchange. So you need to look at this command here, and it's looking again for the token file, for the role, and it's calling the AWS RDS command, generate DB auth token for a particular database and a particular username for that.
Decipher the command.
And what it gave us.
This stuff was super legacy, and then it's went back, so like we have like real stuff like back.
AWS is not great at documentation. So
is this very long signature which contains a token and some metadata, and that can be used in standard database libraries as essentially a one-time password. You put it in the password field. But first, one more thing I have to do. I have to get the RDS combined bundle from Amazon. And as you can see, I'm giving it that bundle I just fetched. I'm giving it the username, MySQL user, the password, this DB token that I just showed you, and the host, this name of this database, and I just logged in. Now, this VM has never had a long-term AWS credential on it. It has never had a long-term credential of any kind. As you can see, it is attesting to the Spire system, and even the agent credentials that the Spire agent uses are short-term and rotated frequently. So basically, if you ever want to deploy, say, a Kubernetes container, and I'm sure none of you have that problem, that needs to talk to an AWS service, and you don't want to try to manage AWS secrets or connect to a centralized secrets manager, this will allow you to authenticate to AWS using something which doesn't have any long-term credentials in it at all. So let me show you in a sense something of what's going on under the hood. First thing we need to do is we need to put the token into an environmental variable.
When I saw it on the list, I was like, I got to do that one. All right, that's
Alright, so what's going on under the hood here is, as you see, I'm using the same token just to directly fetch an STS token. This is it, and as you can see, it's showing you the ARN of what you just fetched, the audience, the provider. It's all there for you, and these are cached after you get them if you're using the AWS SDK locally on the disk in this cache. There. So, you guys have any questions on that?